All right, sound check, sound check. Gonna give it a few more minutes and let some people stroll in before we get started. Otherwise, we'll go back and start redoing everything. Sound check, 1, 2, sound check. If you can hear me, say something, please. Guys, if you can hear me, just type something in the channel, please. That way I'll know my mic's working. Hello, can anybody hear me? Test, test. Okay, here we go, guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with Bitcoin. Okay. All right, there you are, Scott. Thank you. All right. And we'll probably get some stragglers that roll in here in just a few. But anyway, all right, so where are we at with Bitcoin? Basically, so we got the drop today, and not really surprised. We had this big red line right up here, which is resistance, and I'll scroll back over so you can see where it was at. But basically from right over here, okay, is where I drew that line. So it's not like it's going to make a straight shot up to 9,500. That's just asking a lot. And please forgive the sound in the background of a lawnmower. That's somebody mowing my yard. So that'll end here in just a minute. Anyway, so really, I mean, we bottomed out here. Beautiful run up. That is just classic, right? Went a little parabolic here with this move, and I consider that just basically short covering, which fueled the rally. So where are we at now? Okay, well, we've made a local top, okay, and now we're going to watch and see, like on retracements, where we're going. So on the retrace here, we got one that I drew from right here up to here, and the 23.6 comes into play right here. So that is around 75.20-ish. The 10 EMA is hooking up. That is still going to be support, okay? And until that's broken, why be bearish? That's my whole point with moving averages and whatnot. So why be bearish until that breaks? I drew another fib from the low up to this high just to see if I could get any kind of fib clusters or something that lined up, and we've got one, actually a couple, and they're fairly close together. They're not like right on top of each other, but if this 23.6 retracement fails, this area should become bigger support because there's two fibs that line up from two different retracements right on this spot. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand what I say about clusters? And when I see like a 23 point or a 38.2 and a 61.8, that's a pretty strong fib cluster. This one here is a 23.6 and a 38.2. Down here, you've got an even more stronger one with a 38.2 and a 61.8. So if this starts to come back down even further, then you just look at your fib retracements, right? this is still bullish, guys, until, to me, this area right here, 5,600. You know, that was an old resistance zone, which should be, if this thing wants to go lower, that should be major support. But why fight the trend? I mean, I hear people talking about, 4,000 or whatever. To me, if it goes below 5,000, that's ball game. I think you get really worried if that happens. So right now, what we want to see, and what I would love to see, in my opinion, is just go sideways for a little bit. Maybe even retrace down to here, or even here is fine. But let it burn off some of these indicators because they're so extreme. Let them burn off just a little bit. Keep the moving averages flowing up, and we're good, right? So just watch the moving averages, and I've got this, which has become my all-time favorite chart. This moving average chart, it's a simple one. There's no indicators, no Bollinger Bands, no, I've got a couple of fib retracements in here just for giggles and grins. But it gets this simple, really, guys, is when you throw moving averages on a chart and you draw a simple support and resistance line, it's that easy. So look back here, and of course this chart does not go all the way back, but look what happens when you get above, right? You get a parabolic move, you get a move back to the 50, boom, boom. I posted this last night. So at some point, this will come back and retest these areas, but that doesn't mean it's the top, right? I mean, look at this move. It takes time. So we may run into a month where it's just a bad month, and people will be calling, bear, it's going down to 1,000, yada, yada, yada. But this right here just shows the power of moving averages. And now they're starting to go in the right direction. And we're starting to get the 200 flattening out and trying to curl up. Okay? Hey, Jordan. Okay. Yeah, you have to sign into YouTube. So anyway, that's my point there. I just, moving averages are so important to me, as well as Fibonacci. I think those two, I could leave the other stuff off, but those help, right? The other ones do, like Bollinger Bands. When I see something get way out of price or out of the Bollinger Band like this, that just tells me that it's getting close to a top. So look what happened back in here. Way outside, came back in, got up here and went sideways. Came back down, tested the lower, and that's what caused this to go. So now we're going to be watching this lower Bollinger Band. Sorry, I have to mute it when that mower gets close. But anyway, we're watching this lower Bollinger Band to come up, and that's going to be support as well, right? This one, we're looking to, we'll see, who knows, but maybe it curls and starts to do this thing right here. And so maybe we just stay in a range for a little bit and let these Bollinger Bands get tight again before we make the next move. Any questions about that? All right, so what happens if Bitcoin does, decide it wants to just hold this area? I've mentioned that if it breaks this red line right here, then it's going to like 9,500, 9,700 in that area. That right there is a very powerful fib cluster area. 38.2 and the 127.2. Those are powerful. So that area right there, and then just above it, 11,002 something. So it's got some points where it'll, hit some major resistance. But what I would like to see it do right now is just kind of go sideways a little bit and let the alts kind of do their thing. So that's what I've got on Bitcoin. Any questions? All right. So if anybody has any questions about that, we'll come back to it if we have to. Let's go ahead and move on to Ethereum. I'm going to just save that. All right, so when I was looking at this one last night, I was watching this red line right here from this low over here, and this whole thing just looked like one big ascending triangle, okay? Breaking through, the Fibonacci here, and let me go ahead and just get that off. That's the 261.8. Now, one thing I forgot to do, and this is my bad, the 361.8, because I was wondering why it kind of stopped where it did. And that's why, the 361.8. But the 361.8 is not like any kind of magical fib number. But getting past this red line right here is huge, okay? I still consider this a breakout, right? So, you get in, hits this area, wants to retrace a little bit. I mean, my expectation is that it's going higher. Little bit higher, maybe go up here, come back and test old resistance, and if it becomes new support, then you move on and you go and take out these areas and come up and test, which I put down here, the 23.6, which is the fib from the all-time high down to this low. So 396 for Ethereum, I think eventually is where it's heading to. And then obviously if it breaks that, then you get just a huge move in this direction to the 38.2. So watching fibs, it broke this red line right here, old, resistance. It's not something that's going to happen just immediately overnight, but it's something to keep in mind. We're in an uptrend, right? Who's going to fight this? If you're a long-term holder, right? Who's going to fight that? Some people are probably expecting swoon down. Who knows? It may happen, but I doubt it. But I'm expecting it to go higher. And that is Ethereum. Anything you guys want to look at in particular before I move on? Any questions? Scott, did you end up doing okay on Ethereum? And finally, I think the lawn mowing is just about done. Sorry about that, guys. All right, does anybody have any questions or anything they want to look at? Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to get to next. I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions. Oh dang! I'm sorry to hear that, Scott. What ended up happening? Did you just? I know you got in on the break of the line of the resistance. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, crap. Hate it when that happens. Dadgummit. All right, so let's go over to, let's save that. Let's go over to XRP. Did you want to see the, Jordan, did you want to see the USD pair or the BTC pair? Wow. Yeah, I would have thought 248 would have been plenty of room. And it really got down that low? That's crazy. Okay, USD. Let's look at XRP. Okay, so some big volume came in, had a great pop, got back above the 200-day moving average right here in purple, and came up and hit the 38.2 retracement. Almost like right on the money. There we go. I'll scroll in so you can see it. So yeah. And look at this. Here's what I want to point out too. These Bollinger Bands right here. You can see them, how they spread. See how tight things got right in here? And then they spread, as price goes, they just spread out. So what you're watching for is when price gets outside of that, okay? When it gets way outside like it did here, it has no choice but to come back inside. It's I wouldn't say it's rare, but if you ever see that and you take a trade and you're in it, if it gets outside of the Bollinger Bands, that is when you want to take your profit. Just want to point that out. Don't be scared to take profit because it will fall back inside, and then these things will start. And this may take a little time to do, but this thing will start to come back up. This may come down, and who knows, maybe somewhere in here it could go flat for a while. Maybe somewhere down in here it just kind of, holds and goes sideways, but that could happen for a week or two. If by chance it wants to go higher, it still has to get past 50 cents, the 127.2. If it gets past the 38.2, then that's what, 2 cents. So just keep an eye on this area right here because that's major resistance. Nothing wrong with just letting it kind of burn off some of this down here that's overbought. Let it go a little sideways, maybe even come back and retest this little area, which is what, 36 cents? So that's kind of what I got on XRP, at least for right now. I mean, and it came back in this whole jumbled area right in here, which was a choppy mess, so it could just do the same thing right in here until it decides whether it wants to just give up or if it wants to break out. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on XRP. But nice move right there. And the other thing too, it's getting the moving averages going in the right direction, right? So, just hold steady, let these moving averages catch up and see if they can push them higher. Push price higher. A lot of resistance, but see if it pushes it higher. Let's go to Litecoin. Yeah, so here's what's kind of interesting is that it almost did the same thing that Ethereum did, right? Is that you could almost envision like going back over to here, but like an ascending triangle type situation where you got this, and I don't have it on here, but you got a trend line right in here, and then price is trying to hold that and push through. It's struggling a little bit with it right now. It did hit the 127.2 retracement. So let me take out, because I drew a couple of different fibs. Let me take that out. And let's throw these on there, just in case it goes higher. So yeah, it's trying to break this old like support line, which it did. It peeked its head just above it, right? I mean, it's either a head fake or this thing is just consolidating and then it's going to go higher, right? So is it a head fake and then it goes lower, or is it just peaking, retracing just a hair and then building up enough steam to go a little higher? So could you, who knows, maybe at the, by the end of the weekend or maybe next weekend, could you see Litecoin up around 122? Sure. I mean, I'm not just sitting there telling you to go right out and buy it, immediately, but that's kind of what this points to, is that it, it's an uptrend. Retrace, uptrend. Retrace, uptrend. I mean, until that breaks, why fight it? And right now the 50-day moving average is your key, right? Just follow it. Anything else you guys want to look at? I was looking back in the Discord channel. It looks like you guys were talking about XLM, so I'm going to pull that one up. And I'll do the USD pair. Okay, so what did we have here? We had the 78.6 break, so I'm going to take that out. 127.2 got broken, and it came up and hit the 161.8 right there. Let me add on these other fibs. So right now, boy, look at that, big red volume stick today. So somebody was selling and taking profits into this thing today on that pump. Taking some profits right there. So let's see how it goes. Let's see if maybe it comes back and retests the 200-day moving average. You've got the 10 and the 20 coming up through the 50, which is bullish. Okay, it's bullish, not bearish. And if they can get through the 200, that will also be bullish. Still a ways off, but you got things a little bit overbought right here. Looking for some slight retrace maybe. It's still holding that upper Bollinger Band as support right there. So watch that. If it comes back inside, then let's see what happens on a retrace here. Now I'm going to draw it from here to here. Let's see if anything lines up. Yeah, it's sitting right on the 38.2 right now. And take that out. All right. So we're sitting on the first retrace, or it's trying to bounce off that right now. At what, 13 cents? Next will be 12.5, and then next after that will be 11 cents. So Watch your fib retracements. But it's trying to hold that upper Bollinger Band, which is interesting. But this candle right here with the wick coming out the top, that's resistance, that's sellers. So if it can fight through that again, I mean, it looks pretty darn good to me. Not to mention that this was a big old inverted head and shoulders. And I think when I measured it the other night, so you base it from the head to the shoulder. So you go, that was what, 7 cents there at the head. Let's go, what, 13 cents for one of the shoulders, so that's 6 cents. Take it from here, 13 and add 6, that's 19-ish. So could it break through and come up here? Target 21 cents. 19 to 21. Because it broke the neckline, right? And I'll draw that. Right there. That's the neckline on the head and shoulders. So, broke it, coming back, is it retesting it right here before it goes back up to fulfill it? We'll see. That's what I got on XLM. Anything else to look at? Any other charts? About, what else? Oh, and here's another room favorite. Cardano, ADA. All right, and so this is a good one right here, guys. Okay, so here's what I talked about the other night. When you got something that's in a steep decline like this, okay, and you see the moving averages, see the 10 and the 20 just driving price lower, okay? Why try to pick a bottom? I mean, you could, I mean, a lot of people, and I'm included, I just, if something gets down to the 127.2 or, you know, right there at it, I can get interested, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to take the trade, right? And why is that? Because how many times have you seen something hit that, come up just a little bit, and then blow right past it and you're out, okay? What you want to do, you may miss the initial move, right? Which is this right here, okay? See these big green candles? And everybody wants to get all upset, they missed it, yada, yada, yada. Well, what I tend to look for is when I see the 10 get broken, comes up and tests the 20, comes up and gets past the 20, hits the 200. But here's what I'm looking for. I want to see the 10 start hooking up. Okay, when I start seeing the 10 EMA hook up a little bit and price come down to it and hold it, that's when you take your trade. That is when you take your trade right there. And so let's do this. And so you may ask yourself, well, where do I get out? Where do I place my stop? Okay, well, we've seen our retracement or a little bit of a top right here. Okay, so it's starting to retrace. Draw your fib. Okay. And so if it gets down to the 10 EMA and holds, where are you going to place your stop? Me, I'm placing it right here below the 78.6 because knowing all of these cryptos, the 78.6 seems to be a magical fib number for them. And it can be for a lot of other things. But that's where I would place my stop. Just below that, because there is the chance that it could spike down, wick it, and then go up. Right? But what I want to see right now is I want to see it hold and keep holding that 10 EMA. And if the 10 EMA starts hooking up, then guess what? It's going to cross through the 20, It's going to cross through the 200 and everything is going to start moving up. You're going to have little dips and stuff and whatnot. But if it holds, I mean, look what happens here, guys. In the past, I pointed this out. Big drop, big drop, big drop. Came up and tested the 20. Came back down. Gets through, came back and re-held the 10 and the 20, and boom. Held the 20. Boom. Came back, held the 20. Boom. You get a little dip here, but you repeat the pattern over here. Same thing. That's what you want to do. You want to hold those moving averages. Put your stops accordingly. And use my philosophy of you don't have to go 100% in and 100% out. Watch your capital. You don't have to go all in on something. Go 25% in or go 50% in, but never ever go 100% in. And if you get some profits, define where you want to get out, right? Define that. So what would I do if I'm taking this trade on ADA? Then I would preferably like to get in down here, right? Down in this area. What is that, 1,062? That's not that far away from here. Or if you get real lucky, you may catch the wick to the 78.6, right? But you want to see it hold this, and then just know that if you take the trade, what's going to be the next resistance? It's going to be the 38.2. And that's at 1305. So you take your money out, your initial investment, plus a little bit of profit, and you leave yourself a position in it, right? You don't have to sell 100% of what you invested, or I mean what your trade is. Take enough that gets your investment out, plus a little profit, and leave some on the table just in case it wants to go to the moon. Or if it goes up even higher, just take a little off on the way up. You know, build yourself a portfolio. You know what I'm saying? Or try to build yourself a portfolio, and I think in the end you'll be very, very happy because, you know, these things, it just rotates, it seems like, from one to the next. I mean, one's going to run one day, the other one's going to run another day. Build yourself a portfolio and you're in good shape. Did my chart just freeze up? It got real blurry too. I'm looking at it on the YouTube. Further pullback on ETH before it runs. Oh, yeah. It's not going straight to 396. No. Okay, so it looks fine. Okay, maybe it's just my screen or what I'm looking at. Okay. It just looks blurry from what it seems like it's showing to the channel. Okay. All right, appreciate that. Okay, so does that make sense what I was talking about on ADA? And if not, just ask questions. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. One thing to remember, guys, I mean, trading is all about patience, right? And especially if you're a swing trader or long-term trader, you know what I'm saying? You got to have patience. Target for ETH entry. Okay, let's go back to it and we'll take a look. There we go. All right, let me scroll in. This is going to look a little weird, but I'm just looking at it a little closer. Well, it's kind of like I said before, and this almost, in a way, it almost mirrors XLM just a little bit, although it didn't have the inverted head and shoulders. What I would like to see, and let's just do this. Hang on. Let's just say that is a short-term top. Let's do this. Let's draw our fibs. So I'm going to take one from this most recent low, okay, up to this high. Oop, let me get it on there. All right. So there's one, right? And let me go ahead and throw the 23.6 on there, because in super bull markets, the 23.6 is magic. Okay, so there's that one, and you see it's hanging just below that resistance line. Now let's do this. Let's go back and let's draw again, just in case this thing wants to turn harder down. Let's draw it from the almost all-time low, and let's see if anything lines up. All right. So if things, I mean, from here, if it can't break through that, which I'm not really expecting it to just blow through, because the Bollinger Bands, to me, guys, I mean, that just tells me, it's very rare to see it do, this for an extended period of time. But could we come down into here? What, 224? Or 230? 230, 235? Yeah. I would be watching real close to see, well, and it's kind of ironic because that's where you got stopped out at, was 247. That little area. I just, to me, I would like to see it come down and inside those Bollinger Bands and just maybe do some sort of bull flag. You know what I mean? Just kind of go this way, slightly down to sideways for about a week or two, or a week, and then just build off that, and that just shows how strong it would be. But to see this thing go straight parabolic, I would be shocked. I really would. I mean, I love the way the moving averages are going up and they're doing their thing, but at some point it's going to come back and test the 10 and the 20 at some point. When that is, I don't know, but that's just what history shows. Nothing goes straight up. It's going to come back and it's going to test those moving averages. Does that make sense? I mean, if you wanted to scalp it, or something like that, sure, but keep a tight stop on things. I mean, that missing this move right here, you're don't FOMO it, don't chase it. Let the trade come to you, right? Let it come to you. And that's where patience comes in. I mean, and why I always stress that when you take those trades, why go 100% in and 100% out? Buy some, let it get some profit, get your initial investment out plus that profit, and then let the rest ride. Just in case, you get stuff like this. Right here, when this was happening, or even back in here, you could have been buying, and then you get, you play your deal off the moving averages, and then you get out when it makes this move plus some profit and just hold it. Maybe even repeat rinse and repeat right back in here, add more. Rinse and repeat, add more. And then all of a sudden you've built up enough that when it makes this move, you don't care whether it goes to 0 or it goes to 500. You're in a position and you've got it. No stress. Okay, so that's what I've got on Ethereum. Any questions? Any other charts you guys want me to look at? Let's go over to... Look at BAT. Interesting. This is another one of those that this is a nice little reversal. It's not a morning star, right? That's not a morning star. To me, a morning star is when it's in a big downtrend. Of course, you got this red candle here. You got a doji. Here's your green candle, but the green candle did not take out the previous red candle, right? Fell short of that. That's enough to get some people excited, and it's a decent reversal pattern, especially from right over here. It could be a double bottom, but I'm not a buyer. I mean, I know a lot of people love it, but I'm not a buyer just yet. I mean, I want to see it get past the 10 and the 20. And if I miss the move that takes it past it, then so be it. Now, if you're risky and you like those sort of plays, I guess you can take it right here, but I would have my stop just below that doji right there. Or the 78.6, right? And the 78.6 is a decent bounce area, but it can be broken. And if it gets broken, it's coming down here. And then you're screwed. Think about BAT after taking the class. Thought it was interesting, basically getting paid to watch ads. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of interesting. I mean, I'm not what you would call I'm not the guy that knows everything about cryptos or knows what they do. I am mostly a chart guy. I really am. I mean, I've heard about BAT, and in fact, I mean, on Coinbase, I know that I think it was one of those, maybe. Was Coinbase one of those that it's on that they give you that? Or maybe it might have been something different. Anyway, I'm not so much a news guy, so to speak, because I think somebody always knows ahead of time. There's just too much insider trading. People know ahead of time, and that's why sometimes you'll see price go up and then news comes out and then the price drops. Well, that's because everybody that knew about it is getting out. And everybody that didn't know are bag holders. So I just tend to look at charts mostly. Let's go look at... let's go back over here. Yeah, exactly, right? That's the old adage, buy the rumor, sell the news. It works. I mean, there's a book out there by Ron Insana, and it's called Message of the Markets. And it's so true. It is so true. People... if everybody was buying the news or, whatnot, then everybody would be rich, right? Because you would buy and then price goes up and, you're rich. But the people that know ahead of time, those are the people that are rich because they have an advantage. An unfair advantage, if you ask me. But that's just how it is. Been in this for 20 plus years, and I've seen it. And I'm going back to this. I can't help it. I keep going back to this chart, but this is still my favorite chart. Just the simple moving average chart. I just love it. All right, so let's look at some other stuff. Let's go. Oh, one of my all-time faves, DGB, and it was so sad to see this thing come all the way down like this. I think it's probably one of the more underrated cryptos out there, but it just keeps getting abused. It did come down and get close to the 161.8 retracement and made this nice move. If and it looks like it's trying, let's scroll in. This is what I need to see, right? I've got to see that 10 EMA hold right there, and it's trying to hold it. It's got to hold that. Hold that, and if it can start to hook up after that, then it's a buy. And I talked about this last night. I thought things would come back and test the 10 EMA if they had passed it. But I want to see the 10 get past the 20. That's what I want to see. And if that happens, take a trade, might retrace back to test it again, and then take the next move. But that's what I'm watching. I mean, I've still got DGB. I've had it forever. But boy, I sure thought it would be a lot higher than it is right now. So let's see, what else can we look at? What is something we haven't looked at in a while? Anybody want me to look at something? How about Bitcoin Cash? What's everybody's thoughts on Bitcoin Cash? I can tell you right now, I can take that 61.8 retracement out of there. See, and this is something else that I always look at. And I'm going to take this resistance zone out of there. But when something pierces that fib, I want to take it out because it's hit it, it's past it. I want to see, like the next area is the 78.6. I just don't feel on some of these like they've made the end of their move. I just feel like they're, they want to go a little bit higher, and it almost makes sense on Bitcoin Cash to look at this. Come right over in here into this cluster area where it was just, before that drop, that was a major area of trying to hold, and it gave up. So it's fighting it, and it wants to get up there. I think at some point maybe it gets up here and tests 525. And then maybe it comes down and does its sideways thing. We'll see. I could be wrong. The moving averages are all moving in the right way. The 50-day moving average, look at this, in yellow. Ever since it started hooking up, support, bounce. Now the 10 and the 20 are still going. And not only that, but look at this. You got the 100-day moving average hooking up. The 200-day moving average is flattening out. So by this summer, what you would like to see is maybe the 200 start to hook up. That's only going to happen if price goes up. So let's see what happens. Bunch of selling volume right in here, but it sure didn't drive price down too much. We'll see. That was a doji. That was a big doji. And I'll scroll in so you can see it. Doji means indecision. Right there. And if I see a big rig candle off this, then that is going to be a short-term top. And then it's going to start coming down and going sideways, yada yada. Okay, any other charts to look at? Anybody want me to look at something? Or any questions? Any questions about Fibonacci, moving averages? You name it. Somebody had me look at Theta the other night. Let's look at it. Same thing. Above the 10 EMA, testing the 20. It's in that little zone, right? It's in that little sweet spot. ZRX. Yes. Let's look at ZRX. My best friend actually has switched over to ZRX, and I still have ZRX as well. So let's go see what she's doing. Did you want to see the USD? Oh yeah, USD. All right, hang on. Let me switch over to that. Let's see if I actually had ZRX on the USD. Let's see. Nope. All right. Let's just switch over to it. Okay. Whoa. Well, this is interesting. All right. So you'll get to see me do a fresh chart here, and you'll be able to watch what I do, right? And this is what I do when I have a blank chart or whatever. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this resistance line, right? That's the all-time high. Okay? And you start seeing the wicks out the top. Well, that's not really surprising, right? Since it's testing the all-time high. Let's go do a fib retracement. And let's just draw it from there to the low. Okay? So it's broken the 78.6, right? And let's go ahead and take that out. Let's put in the 127.2. All right. So let's do this. Let's draw, just in case that's a short-term top. Draw it from this low to this high. Move that out of the way so we can see what we're doing. All right, and so here's what I come up with. Scroll it in just a little bit so you can see it better. All right. There we go. Okay, so we've got our all-time high right here, obvious resistance. We've got above the 50-day moving average, above the 10 and the 20. 10 and 20 are trying to come through the 50, right? So now the question is, does it want to come back and test the 10 and the 20? If it does, then the logical area would be right in here. Just if it wants to go lower is what I'm saying. Now, if it breaks through those, that's going to be a cause of concern to me. If it breaks down below in here, you don't want to see it get below the 78.6 again. That right there ought to be line in the sand, do not cross. Because if it does, then it's going to come down here and do what? Double bottom. Or test right in here. See that? Green line? How it lines up with the 127.2? It's not like coincidence stuff. It's just how it works, right? So you're watching the 38.2. Oh, I hate it when it does that. You're watching the 38.2. If it breaks that, it's dropping down to the 50% retracement and probably won't hold it, but could hold the 50-day moving average. Or it could come down to the 61.8 and test the 10 and the 20. All right? Would I be buying right now? No. I would want to see it come back and just retest. It's too close to this all-time high to be able to just go chase it, right? It's had a great move off the bottom, but let's see if it can hold right in here and then go up. Let it build up some juice, some Momo. Right here you got, overbought indicators. You want to see your RSI hold right here strong, but stochastic RSI, maybe let it come down a little bit, and then you can build something to bounce off of. And in fact, I think it just broke. No, it's still holding the 38.2. Okay. Don't know if that holds or not, but we'll see. And so I'm going to save that at ZRX.